the rolling hills of Cork, where morning mist begins to talk, I hear the piper's mournful sound, and feel the earth beneath me pound. The wind that whispers tales of old, of lovers bold and hearts of gold, in moonlit fields where shadows glide, the wildest dreams in me reside. Oh, Persepolis, your walls still cry, the stars above, they watch and sigh, while lovers dance beneath the sky, where silken shadows intertwine. Whispers float like wine so sweet, a heart that beats in ancient streets. The scent of roses fills the night, as fire and soul take flight. Through green and gold the rivers run, the morning light, it kisses the sun. But somewhere far beyond the sea, your voice still calls, it's haunting me. In Irish winds and Persian sands, I feel your touch, the warmth of hands. Between the stars, between the sea, a love that's bound eternally. From Cork to Persia, through time we roam, two hearts entwined, one path, one home. The fiddle sings, the setter weeps, where love awakens, never sleeps. The fire burns, the winds may blow, but through it all we will not go. In every step, in every rhyme, you're with me still, across all time. Persepolis, your walls still cry, the stars above, they watch and sigh. A lover stands beneath the sky, where silken shadows intertwine. Whispers flow like wine so sweet, a heart that beats in ancient streets. The scent of roses fills the night, as fire and soul take flight. So here we stand where winds may blow, in Cork's green hills, oh, where the rivers flow. The night is young, the music's loud, we spin and sway beneath the cloud. hear the piper's mournful sound, and feel the earth beneath me pound. The wind it whispers tales of old, of lovers bold and hearts of gold, in moonlit fields where shadows glide. The wildest dreams in me reside. Oh, Persepolis, your walls still cry. The stars above, they watch and sigh. While lovers dance beneath the sky, where silken shadows intertwine. Whispers float like wine so sweet, a heart that beats in ancient streets. The scent of roses fills the night, as violent soul take flight. Through green and gold the rivers run, the morning light it kisses the sun. But somewhere far beyond the sea, your voice still calls, it's haunting me. In Irish winds and Persian sands, I feel your touch, the warmth of hands. Between the stars, between the sea, a love that's bound eternally. From court to Persia, through time we roam, two hearts entwined, one path, one home. The fiddle sings, the setter weeps, where love awakens, never sleeps. The fire burns, the winds may blow, but through it all we will not go. In every step, in every rhyme, you're with me still, across all time. Persepolis, your walls still cry. The stars above, they watch and sigh. A lover stands beneath the sky, where silken shadows intertwine. Whispers flow like wine so sweet, a heart that beats in ancient streets. The scent of...
And welcome back for Canto 25 of Dante Alighieri's The Inferno. And, we're getting closer to the end, and we'll be passing into a place that pretty much anybody outside of Catholicism knows exactly jack shit about, because we're the only ones who use it, or for me as a former, but... In Canto 25, though, we just left the Eighth Bulge, or in the process of leaving the Eighth Bulge. We just left a basically sea of serpents biting and causing inverted fucking phoenix deaths to these people in this particular one, because they are a particular type of fraudulent individuals within the previous circle. And this one, on the other hand, all I can say is Longfellow took some liberties before we get into it. Because I have the sneaky suspicion he didn't understand, like, the implications of some of the Italian as how it would actually be, like, referenced into, like, biblical, like, references. Because there are certain things that he completely misses, that when you look at the Italian, you're like, how did you miss that? It's so close to the Latin. Like, how did you not hear this shit in church when you were a kid? But it was interesting nonetheless. And this week we have Despy and Com and Rich as per usual. Although for some reason the last two just don't turn their cameras on anymore. It's almost like this is too early for them.
No, yeah. I'd have to get my lighting all set up, my green screen pulled down. It's just a pain in the ass this early in the morning, and I don't feel like it.
I know, I'm just giving you shit.
And you say anymore as if I've ever turned my camera on for this.
First week.
Did I?
Yeah, you
Mhm.
did. You
Well-
did. You did your first week.
Okay, fair enough.
And Rich does it depending on how far he is into his coffee making setup usually.
Yeah, and also like starting next week, it'll be easier for me to do it.
Yeah, it's like I was talking to Nevin when I was hitting him for the interview for FOFA. He was like, "Yeah, Rich and I were supposed to do a podcast." I'm like, "Yeah, if you hadn't had to spaz out on it, he probably would have, because it's to the point where like he has trouble making like the 2.5 hours for Dante on Saturdays because of how much they're working you." So I would not be surprised if you hear from him before.
Oh, was
too
that
long.
Brad Sivnat?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to interview him on the juxtaposition and the common ground between somebody who's obviously on the right, a civic nationalist, and people like us on the left who are just fucking sick and tired of these assholes in the administration for obvious reasons that we don't
Right,
need to go
yeah.
into because we're already in hell. We don't need to add to it. But on that one, as much as I'd like to see the fucking tangerine dickhead down here, Dante didn't know him, so we don't get to read about him. We'll have to save that for the next person who does this. And who knows?
There are modern retellings where they do put modern people in.
I know, but none of them are as good. Let's be honest.
I read one time. One of my favorite ones was The Place Where Doctors Go, and it was just a waiting room.
Yeah.
Waited. There were
And then
magazines,
and then there was what Miller's that is essentially the hell that you seat yourself in is the exact opposite of your greatest passion, so on and so forth. Like, we have done this so many times throughout the years, but let's be honest, Dante and Milton are the two who did it the best.
I like Starts No Exit, where it was just hell was just there's 4 people sitting in a room. That's it.
Yeah, hell is your friends.
Each one of them is the source of everyone else's torment.
Mm-hmm.
Hell is other people.
Yep.
I think mine would be either driving in Japan, like I've said before, or based on the amount of emphasis I put into cheering on people in sporting events. I would be in hell forever.
Like you wouldn't be able to cheer them on. You'd be forced to watch sporting events but not cheer them.
I'd be forced to watch sporting events, and the only way for me to get out would be to legitimately feel something in cheering on a team.
I see.
Yeah.
It would be purgatory. It'd be your purgatory.
I mean, for me, it's it's one of those things.
I'd be there forever.
Yeah.
I'd literally be there forever.
Oh, okay.
Well, no. See, I get it for that, for what Despy said, because honestly, there's very few people or very few like sporting events I've ever given a shit about. I've had fun, I've cheered along, etc. But that was usually because I was there with friends or family, and it was more like a group activity than I actually gave a shit about what team won. So yeah, I'm right there with him.
I mean, like I'll go to my son's like basketball events, but I'm only cheering them on. I really don't care what happens with the team or anything. It's like all of that stuff, just don't care.
Yeah. You're the
Literally
parents who
don't.
killed team sports and gave us participation trophies. I'm kidding. I knew that would get that face. That's why I had to say it.
Yeah, well.
Because I know how you feel about those trophies. But we will get into the reading because we do have 2 people on time constraints. And this one isn't too bad on the overall reading, so it won't be horrible. So we'll start Canto 25 now. I'll be honest with you, of the 34 that we have to get through before we get to Purgatorio, probably the one I was least excited to talk about because there's just so little. But at the conclusion of his words, the thief lifted his hands aloft with both the figs, crying, "Take that, God, for at thee I aim them." From that time forth the serpents were my friends, for one entwined itself about his neck, and as if it had said, I will not thou speak more. And round his arms another, and rebound him, clinching itself together so in front, that with them he could not a motion make. Pistoia, ah, Pistoia, why resolve not to burn thyself to ashes and so perish, since in ill doing thou thy seed excellest? Through all the somber circles of this hell, spirit I saw not against God so proud, not he who fell at Thebes down from the walls, not he who had at Thebes, not he who had fell at Thebes down from the walls. He fled away and spake no further word. And I beheld a centaur full of rage come crying out, where is the scoffer? Okay, so I will stop here because at least when it comes to the concept of like Catholic mythology, this is an extreme jump that we have not really seen from Dante in any of the previous circles. This is an actual like entity that the Catholic Church would consider heresy even to speak about. Because this is a truly mythological creature. This isn't a demon that is some, construct of God. This is something that this is full heresy because this is a teaching of another religion. And a religion that they consider heretical. Because this was something that was very heavily fucking emphasized back in it first started to shift in about the 8th century, but by the 14th century, it was absolutely cemented in Italy to try and cause essentially an air of separation between the Roman and the Greek, for obvious reasons political reasons at this time, even though we now in modernity know they were worshiping the same damn gods under different names for the most part.
Yep.
So, like this one, it almost feels like Dante. It's not the Catch Me If You Can vibe, because that's not accurate. But it's almost like he's trying to add that level of subversiveness, that level of transgressiveness to the reading, because he didn't have anything else to add. So he added something that would make you go, "Oh, what the fuck?" Because if you look at contemporaries from, especially Italy at this time period, pretty much the only people who talk about the Greek mythological creatures are playwrights. Almost exclusively. Like, novelists don't do it. People who write political treaties don't fucking do it. It is pretty much reserved to the playwrights who are writing about those Greeks.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, this feels not anachronistic because it is within time period, but it seems intentional.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know. I just go ahead.
Just because of his references to the fact that he includes Virgil for so much of this, and Virgil having made his name largely upon an evolution of a Greek epic, it kind of seems appropriate that he includes so much Greek mythology in this, him specifically, not necessarily like the time period. I've always found it weird that so much of the mythology surrounding Christianity and Catholicism in particular seemed to include so many elements of Greek mythology, but I'm guessing that's largely due to Dante's influence, and the reason he included it at least makes more sense given his own literary inspirations.
No, that part I agree with you on. It just seems odd because he's already essentially tipping with heresy with all of the other things he is saying. To add a second level of what would almost assuredly by anybody outside of like extremely well-educated clergy would almost also be viewed as a level of apostasy, because of the bringing in a foreign religion to explain bits of the Catholic traditions. In the 13th century, outside of doctors of the church, or 1300s, outside of doctors of the church and extremely well-educated clergy, nobody fucking knew that.
Yeah, fair.
So, like, this is just, how to put it? It's like Abby Hoffman writing the book titled "Steal This Book." He knew he wasn't going to make any fucking money. He literally called his book "Steal This Book" because he wanted people to steal his book. It seems in the capitalist world that Abby Hoffman was living in, it seems like an unneeded draw of attention.
Yeah.
Oh, I figured I'd
Well,
get rich with that one.
so that begs the question: like, are we saying Dante did something similar here by calling his work La Divina Commedia?
Very potentially, that's kind of my point. Is we
Okay.
know he's trying to be transgressive, but this just seems like adding salt to the wound. He's already put popes in hell. He's already condemned the church as not being godly in multiple places. He has condemned clerics that are still alive because of some of the condemnations of the people in hell that he has met. This is the first time where he's like, you know what? We're just going to bring in a different religion entirely. Because, like, as all of us here know now, like, the Abrahamic faiths are so heavily interconnected. Him talking about the Jew or the Muslim in this particular case, or Mohammedan as he calls him, is not out of place. It is something he would actually be able to understand. It's something he would be able to, like, if not relate to, at least conceptualize more readily. Whereas, like, bringing in the Greeks, as Rich and I have brought up in previous weeks, there are whole sections of Greek mythology that these people did not know existed because they didn't have access to it yet. It hadn't re-entered the empire yet. So, like, him bringing up Centaur, something that is known, and something that the Catholic Church had ruled on, I think back in, like, the 8th century, about, like, even mentioning mythological creatures like dragons and stuff like that during sermons, outside of direct scriptural references, were to be frowned upon. This is, at least in my opinion, a big deal, because you don't see it anywhere outside of the playwrights. Playwrights could get away with anything. They wrote about fucking donkeys and shit back then. They didn't give a shit. For it to be in something that was going to basically be considered a high treatise on like societal norms and church and society interaction, this seems dangerous.
Well, okay, so let me just pose a potential explanation here, because if I'm not mistaken, even up to this point, this sort of a writing was largely meant to be performed, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was largely meant to be listened to, read aloud, or possibly performed in
Usually
even
performed
a more...
from memory, but yes. Because
Yeah.
most of the performers were usually illiterate and were taught it by word of mouth. But yes.
Yes, but the type of performance is what I'm talking about, right? Would this work have been performed more as, or more similar to how a poetry reading or a play would be done today?
At least to my knowledge, and obviously Dante could not have actually truly known which way it would have gone when he was writing it. But at least to
But
my
he may
knowledge,
have had an intention.
Yeah, but at least to my knowledge, this is meant to be performed as essentially as a foramana, forum play. So like it can be performed in any venue. It is just you are essentially modern interpret. You are the person on the soapbox that everybody is standing around listening to the
It's a
story.
one-man show.
A one-man show.
Thank you.
That's kind of what I was figuring. Okay, so yeah, then in this case, because because he may have expected it to be done as a performance, as a sort of play, he may have believed that he could insert this sort of reference in here as a playwright would have been able to in his time, and therefore not seen it as particularly subversive.
Perhaps. But at the same time, while that very well could be the case, I still find it slightly problematic considering how close he ventures to what would be viewed as heresy in this time period up to this point. Why he would keep doing it, because he is very careful in those previous points to fall just shy of where the Catholic Church has burned people alive for saying the same thing. Whereas in this, I'll point you to the traveling merchants in the 7th century and how they were treated over such things. Maybe it's been several hundred years by that point, but
You say 7th century. I think an intervening 600 years may have changed things just a smidge.
Yeah, but this is also the trading hub where they had executed Moorish Spain or Moors that had come into here. They had executed what we would now refer to as Egyptians. They called Faradins or whatever the fuck it was called at that time. Because they didn't have the concept of nationality and the same concept we do today, so on and so forth. Like there is a certain level of, yes, 600 years changed a lot, but it didn't make us less violent or prone to violence against things we considered sacrilegious or irreverent. So I don't know if that's enough. It could be, because now we're talking about like cultural trigger shifts, but I think the violence was still there, so the risk was still there, at least in theory.
Well, I think it's also worth noting that the time period in which this was written could be seen by some as the very earliest years of the Italian Renaissance. Like, yeah, we're a couple of hundred years early from what most people would consider the Renaissance.
I was about to say 1301. That I don't know if I'd stretch that far back.
I would say this was probably released in its entirety closer to 1320. But the point being that, like, for the Renaissance to have happened at all, there had to be some societal shifts leading up to it. This may have been seeing, like, the very beginning of those shifts.
Oh, no. That part I'll agree with you on. But Dante couldn't have known that.
He couldn't have, but...
Yeah, and that's my point. He was writing into a potential danger. And that's why I find it interesting, not unbelievable.
Fair enough.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Why is it like right now with centaurs and whatnot that it's suddenly a problem, but when you had characters like Minos and other characters previously that he wrote about that aren't treated in the same way with heresy?
Because they were still humans. It was the mythological beasts. If you actually look at the way that the Catholic Church started to change, they started to shy away, even from scriptural references to things like dragons within their sermons, because of the fact that, I don't know the reason, but at least a lot of historians believe it was because of the fact that they were facing the potential of schisms, which you and I have gone into multiple times in the past. So like that shit
Yeah.
happens all the fucking time. But at least what historians now believe is they were trying to do it as a potential answer to schisms because of how many converts they were having at this particular time due to this is being in such close proximity to the end of the Fourth Crusade, and therefore a lot of forced converts that brought in a lot of secondary and tertiary cultural triggers when they migrated into Europe after being captured and all the shit that we did to them in those areas, like around Acre and whatnot, because we brought quite a few of them back into to Rome after their conversion as examples to the rest of Europe of what could be done to the Mohammedan, how we could save the Mohammedan from themselves.
Wasn't there an area?
Hold on.
Wasn't there?
Hold on. No, I wanted to back you up here, Jack, because I just did a search. Canto 12 mentions the Minotaur.
Yeah.
It mentions the Minotaur, but does not show him. It mentions him.
The Minotaur beheld I do the like, and he the wary cried run to the passage.
Then why is this listed in the commentary as the first mythological creature outside of Catholicism by Chiardi?
I could have sworn that there were also harpies at some point.
But those are in Catholicism. That is something that we have actually stolen from and is mentioned within City of God Against the Pagans. That is within Catholic teaching from the 4th century. Other than that, yeah, this is why I actually trusted Chiardi on this one, because I remember how many of these other things were used in Catholic traditions at this point, because this is before the full cementing of the Catholic Church over Europe. Remember, at this point, Catholicism only controlled the southern portions of Europe and the northern portions of Africa, certain portions of the Middle East. It did not control most of northern Europe. At that point, we were still dealing with a lot of pagan religions that were under conversion attempts by colonial powers and all kinds of other shit that we don't need to talk about today. But we were still at that point, I still say we for some reason. Catholics at that point still had a certain level of mythological implication from these other cultures because it hadn't had time to weed itself out. Because you're talking about cultures from the territory they are now dominating, as opposed to the influx cultures outside of it. Now, maybe Chiardi was wrong, and I was wrong to take him at his word on this one. That could be my fault on that one. But it did seem appropriate when he said it because of how much we had used these influences previously, but then started shifting away from it by the time Dante was writing.
Oh,
Quick
also,
bit of
Jack,
context.
you haven't formally requested excommunication, so that means we still applies. Just so you know.
I understand that, but I don't know why in my brain I still say it. I don't. That's the part. Go ahead.
Hey, you know something? It's still correct.
Canto 13, there do the hideous harpies make their nest who chase the Trojans from the Straphades with sad announcement of impending doom. Just so
that part
have the context.
Okay, fair enough for that. But that part I remembered because I was like, yeah, but Augustine and fucking Thomas Aquinas have mentioned the harpies in their work, so like that was something that was already in Catholic tradition by this point.
Fair enough.
But yeah, like fair enough, because if Chiardi's wrong on this, then I do have to retract my point, because at that point, he made a false assumption, or he did not at least reinforce the conclusion that he was coming to with the secondary text that I would need to like understand what he's meaning. Because when Despy brings up the Minotaur, that one shouldn't be there. That's not in Catholic tradition. That is not something that we had held into Catholic tradition in the same way. So Chiardi's wrong, even if he like had some point to it. I would need him to show his work, and he didn't do that in his commentary. So even if he's right for the wrong reasons. It's in that situation.
Yeah.
So what do we make of the fig?
I always interpreted it as most Catholics would, because at this point in time, that was what we viewed the fruit as. What didn't become an apple till like the 1500s.
Well, I mean, making the fig with both thumbs, that's basically shooting the bird.
Mm,
At
I
least
didn't take
according
it
to
as that.
Sayers,
Yeah, I didn't take it as that, but that's also because I had never heard that one.
What do you say? We're talking about like offending people, at this passage. So it's interesting that he starts the canto shooting the bird, potentially at the audience
No, I agree. I'm just saying
or
I
at the
don't
church.
understand what hands aloft with both figs would actually be as an insult, because I interpreted it as the biblical interpretation of figs, and like that was, I just skipped past it. I didn't even think about it.
Yeah, making the figs with both thumbs. I think that's where you put your thumb to your mouth, right? But in this case, it's with both thumbs. So I guess it's a
Are we
double.
biting thumbs?
Basically, yeah, yeah.
Do you bite your thumb at me?
Yes, exactly. That's exactly
No,
yes.
I don't bite my thumb at you, but I do bite my thumb.
But do you bite your thumb at me?
No, I don't know.
Exactly.
I just didn't think about it because, like, in my head, the second I read through it, I'm like, oh yeah, at this point in time, that's what they thought the fruit in the Garden of Eden was. Because
Well, I guess he's not literally biting his thumbs because the way Musa translates it, shaped his fists into figs and raised them high. But that's it's an obscene gesture apparently.
I mean,
An insulting gesture, at least, made by thrusting the thumb between the first and second fingers, according to Sayers.
Oh, okay. So it's like making the letter T in American Sign Language, which
Yeah.
I feel like I've seen in anime as a way to like
yeah, I just don't
as
know
a
what
way
it means.
to insult someone.
I'm not doubting that it's an insult. I just don't know what the fuck it
Like,
means.
Okay, so here's my guess, based purely on the visual of sticking my thumb between my fore and middle fingers, is it kind of looks like a tongue sticking out of the mouth. So it's kind of like blowing a raspberry just with your hand.
I don't know. You're pushing your thumb between your fingers there. It could be just saying "go fuck yourself."
I mean, yeah, that might have been "go fuck yourself" before the middle finger became.
Yeah,
that,
but it's so innocuous. I mean, it's just one of those things where it's like,
well, yeah, but
I'm trying to figure out
someone,
where it started and what it meant to begin with before it became just the general fuck. Like, what?
Well, but think about it. Think about it from another culture's perspective. If they're unfamiliar with the middle finger, they would think that is so innocuous. But with the cultural context, we understand it means something.
Yes, and we know that there's a lot of myths about how it's come into existence. Like, there's
You
still
have to know
people.
what it meant to the Italians at that time.
Yeah, and that's what I'm trying. I don't. It's one of those things where I'm like, I don't understand how this is a middle finger, and I'm curious. I wish we had a Bill and Ted fucking phone box so I could go back and ask them. Because it's just like, how was this insulting? Please explain to me how this was insulting.
Hey, you know something? This could be the earliest version of "got your nose." Just saying.
Yeah.
God damn it! Fucking such a dad joke. I should have saw it coming. I should have saw it coming.
As the only other dad here, yes, you absolutely should have seen that coming.
Oh God, I should have seen it coming. Oh, I feel like it. Crick. Okay, since you can pick up the reading because I want you to suffer having to pronounce all this shit after that.
All right,
Where we're picking up at the
starting
top of the screen. I don't think
not
Marima. Sorry.
And where am I
Hey,
going
hold
to?
on. I did look it up. Apparently, it's seen as obscene or vulgar, carried a sexual connotation, symbolizing female genitalia. And I've read that before. Yeah,
Oh.
that's essentially being the fig
Oh.
being the metaphor for a vulva.
Yeah, so it's calling
also
somebody a
rude way of
pussy.
telling someone to fuck off.
Yeah.
It was a protective charm in ancient Rome. Let's
It's
see.
like
Yeah.
crossing your fingers.
Oh, Despy, I must
Oh, yeah,
make
this one.
a merciful request of you. When it comes time to say this name, it is Heracles. Heracles.
Okay.
But it's not spelled that way in the text.
It's
All right.
not.
Well, that's
And
fine.
even
Hey, you know
and
something? I totally
even Dante
understand.
and
I
even
completely
Dante gets
understand
it
the
wrong.
request.
And even Dante gets it wrong. But fuck Dante, it's Heracles.
Well, okay, no,
Okay.
don't get mad at him because this is one of those things that we didn't know because we didn't have all of the Greek knowledge back in the empires at
And-
that time.
Yes, and also the Roman name was Hercules, and he's going based on Virgil, a Roman. But I don't care.
I know. I just have to give you shit, but there's no e. Sorry. And
Where am I going to?
we'll cut off at that one name because if you go any further, you have to read a lot further. Let me get
That one name.
Yeah, and I'll scroll you down when you get there.
All right. I do not think Marima has so many serpents as he had all along his back, as far as where our countenance begins. Upon the shoulders, just behind the nape, the wings wide open, was a dragon lying, and he set fire to all that he encounters. My master said, "That one is Cacus, who beneath the rock upon Mount Aventine created oftentimes a lake of blood. He goes not the same road with his brothers, by reason of the fraudulent theft he made of the great herd which he had near to him. Whereat his torturous actions ceased beneath the mace of Hercules."
Heracles.
He did that to piss everybody off.
Who peradventure gave him 100, and he felt not 10. While he was speaking thus, he had passed by, and spirits 3 had underneath us come, of which nor I aware was, nor was my leader. Until what time they shouted, "Who are you?" On which account our story made a halt, and then we were intent on them alone. I did not know them, but it came to pass, as is wont to happen by some chance, that one to name the other was compelled.
Yeah. Okay, so the reason I stopped you there is because then we get into a big, long, like single person speaking. So I don't want to get too far into that. But
yes, I said Hercules on purpose.
Yes, I could tell by the second you said it. I saw the look on your face, and I'm like, I knew it.
It was a third way.
Yeah. Okay. So Kakis,
I respect it, but I'm still annoyed.
So Kakis is not a dragon, as Dante points out here. It is a legend from northern Italy about a fire-breathing giant who lives in the Alps. He did not know this, though, because this is like a pagan tradition that had reinterpreted Greek tradition and basically combining Germanistic or Germanic tribalism with Hellenistic religion. You get this interpretation of a fire-breathing giant in the Alps. Is where this one comes from. It is. I don't know why Dante calls him a dragon, as far as I could tell when looking into Caucasus, because I was like, who the fuck is Caucasus? Because they name him so specifically, he's got to be important, right? I couldn't find anywhere besides here where he's called a fucking dragon. But so I don't know where he got that one from. Some other text we have lost to history, but maybe it's just to fit the motif of serpents everywhere. I don't know. That being
The
said,
eighth circle, aka the circle of snakes.
yes. Indiana Jones is Contrapasso. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, God, every time I picture it, like as I picture the circle we're exiting. I'm not opposed to snakes, but even it gives me the heebie-jeebies to like think about literally millions of snakes everywhere. Some of which are venomous, some of which are constrictors, and you don't know which one's which because it's just a mass of bodies. Like, I think that might even
Yeah.
freak out people like R and Ra and Matt Dillahunty who have hundreds of damn snakes.
Yeah, like I have a boa. I'm not about this.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where I'm like, I think this is one of those natural human instincts from our evolutionary past of, yeah, that's too many snakes. That's too many snakes.
I mean, there's a reason that in the oral tradition of Genesis they gave an explanation why we were all fucking scared of snakes.
Yeah, I mean,
Like it's kind of a random thing to insert in what is effectively meant to be a creation story and an explanation of all these natural phenomenon. Also, we're going to throw in why are we afraid of snakes? Oh, okay.
yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. It's just, it seems like one of those things that no matter what culture, unless you're a fucking Presbyterian from southern United States, this many snakes is
Even
viewed
the
as a
right
bad
to pick
thing.
'em because
Not
they're
Presbyterian. That's
scary.
Pentecostal, not Presbyterian.
Oh, I thought they both had snake handlers. My bad.
No, it's
No, but I mean,
Pentecostal that has.
I imagine even the Pentecostals are afraid of snakes. It's just they what is it? They have to face
Jesus
their
is
fear.
stronger than my snake.
Exactly.
Well, at least from the one performance of that fucking lunacy I've ever seen in person, the whole point was to not be afraid because the power of God would keep the poison from harming
Be
you.
not afraid.
What he didn't tell everybody in the audience is that the fucking goddamn rattlesnake he was holding was defanged. Yeah. Just saying.
Honestly, I prefer that.
No, I don't,
Right.
because not only are you being, in my opinion, insane for a religion, you're lying as well. You are knowingly acting like there is a danger, making people believe that if you were to say this particular intercessory prayer, they will be safe from any poisonous snake, and sending them out into the world to fucking potentially handle dangerous snakes. That's even, to me, that's even more scummy if you do it knowingly. It's one
Yeah,
thing if you believe it, because then you believe it. Like that I don't agree with it, but I can at least understand it. When you knowingly lie, yeah, fuck you, buddy.
knowingly putting people in danger, I can see that. But I mean,
Yeah,
still, like, I don't want anybody to die. So
yeah.
No,
Well, and
knowingly putting people in danger for money.
right.
honestly, or influence would be enough. Even if they didn't give them money, like if this wasn't like that kind of thing, even if it's just the traveling tent preacher who just gains influence, to me, lying for that is just as scummy as lying for money, because at that point you are harming other people for what reason I don't know, and I will just attribute it to greed because I'm not in your head and can only evaluate your actions. That being said, Rich, would you like to pick up from where we are? I don't know if the line matches up, but I think we're on line 43. I didn't check the numbers when I was cutting in today.
What's the line?
Exclaiming, yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Where should I? How far should I go? Well, I'll figure it out.
Yeah, I was about to say, it looks like we'll be going to 69-ish.
Exclaiming, where can Chianfa have remained? Whence I, so that the leader might attend, upward from chin to nose my finger laid. If thou art reader, slow now to believe what I shall say, it will no marvel be. For I who saw it can hardly admit it. As I was holding raised on them my brows, behold, a serpent with 6 feet darts forth, one in front, fastens wholly on him. With middle feet, it bound him to the paunch, and with the forward ones, his arms it seized, then thrust its teeth through the cheek and the other. The hindermost it stretched upon his thighs, and put its tail in between the two, and up between the reins outspread it. Ivy was never fastened by its barbs unto a tree, so that this horrible reptile upon the other's limbs entwined on its own. Then they stuck close, as if of heated wax they had been made, intermixed their color, nor one or the other seemed now as he was. E'en as proceedeth on before the flame, upward along the paper of a brown color, which is not black as yet, and the white dies. The first thing I noticed was if thou art reader. So he's talking to us.
Yes, I
And it
actually,
doesn't say
I-
listener, it doesn't say dear audience, it says reader.
yeah, I noticed that myself, which,
Yeah.
because we've been putting so much emphasis on the fact that this was most likely to be read aloud to others. So I actually
Well, no,
went
intended-
and looked up the
intended to
specific
be.
Italian word here, lettore, which comes or which comes to us from the from the Latin lectorum, or was it lectorum? Sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
Goddamn
That
lectorum.
was the part I was muted for. Intended to be read, not majority to be, or to be read aloud. To not majority to be read aloud. There's a difference between when you write it as an intentionality to have the ability to be read aloud. For example, I would not hand somebody Beowulf and expect them to read it aloud unless they are intimately familiar with fucking Middle English. That one, it is technically meant to be performed, but you're going to be reading it more than not unless you are from that specific culture. When you say reader in this time period, he is anticipating or hoping that his book will reach wider than Italy. Not every place does performances in the same way, but go on.
Jay, yeah, you cut me off because I was about to continue. So the Italian, or the Italian lettore from the Latin lectorum, in a religious context, could refer to a lector, who, for those who don't know, is someone who is a lay person who would read scripture aloud during a religious service. So he could, in fact, be referring to the person who is reading this aloud for others.
Mhm.
Just thought that was interesting.
Well,
thing I
Well, that's
Oh,
why I was
sorry, go ahead.
that's why I was bringing up intended, because this could be Dante's obvious multiple like intentionalities. That could
Yep.
be to us, the reader and performer, and the readers in his contemporary time period, and each one has a different layer of implication.
Yeah.
Like,
So there's another thing.
Go ahead.
Who put insect DNA in a serpent to give it 6 legs? What the fuck?
So that one reminds me. So in Genesis, the serpent is cursed with slithering on the ground because of what it did in the garden, and so
Yeah.
I guess this implication is that's the serpent before the curse. That's
Woo!
the serpent having its abilities given back to it, or whatever.
yeah, and
That's
this
the original serpent.
well, yes, but this dates to a particular Greek mythology. This is the God,
Dante combines these things all the time.
Yeah, this is what is it? The Anguiped, the snake goddess. It's a Scythian tradition. Yes, Greco-Roman and Scythian tradition, where it is snake-footed. I have the sneaking suspicion that Dante perhaps mistranslated this as footed snake. In his time period, due to like linguistical like problems, because in the original mythology, it is her feet that are snakes, not a snake with feet. So like her feet are literally the body and heads of snakes, not a snake with 6 feet. The same.
So more like Medusa than like a snake with legs.
Yes, anguipeds are actually considered related to the Gorgons, at least in Greek mythology. But yes, that is what I personally think he is referring to here, because it is the only 6-legged serpent that I know of, and it's not a 6-legged serpent, it is 6 serpent legs.
Fair enough.
Now, I could
But I
be
think
totally
the
wrong.
implication for Genesis has got to be relevant here, right? Like,
I mean, if not relevant, at least enough to be implied to draw like secondary like comfort, like that kind of secondary influence to make it more normal to the reader and therefore more comfortable to read. If he doesn't intend anything, which I doubt, because it's Dante. He always intends something.
right.
We just don't always know what the fuck it is.
I think it'd be really funny for him to find a point where he said, "Yeah, nothing was intended here. Nothing at all. The intention was his intention."
No, I will say the way that where you closed out, you did close out 3 earlier than I was thinking. My numbers must be messed up. You ended up closing out on a place that, if you hadn't have, I may not have actually drawn as much attention to it. Which is not Blackest yet, and the white dies. It seems to be talking about the paper, but because of what we know of Dante's history as a cavalryman in the fight between the black and white Guelphs, could this also be a secondary symbolization?
So this at least Sayer's notes, I don't know if you've put in Moose's note. Yeah, you have. Sayer's notes at least say that this may be a reference to Cianfa Donati, who was an advisor to the captain of the people in Florence. So another semi-obscure Florentine politician that is being indirectly referenced.
Not just politician and military member. Remember, if you were to lead the city guard at this time period, you also would have to be in armor with them. One of the few things we did right back in the day is we actually expected our leaders to do shit. And take on the same dangers.
I think we should reinstate that. I think that should...
I agree.
You know,
Looks like,
I think that they should pass the physical exam, and if they can't pass that physical exam, they should be out of office.
So apparently some of the earliest commentators of this pointed to him as a cattle thief and a burglar, like a shop burglar. But there's no like historical documents. It's just like hearsay of people.
Well, here's the thing.
Who commentated on the poem.
Yeah, but these are not mutually exclusive. You could be the captain of the city guard and still be a crook.
Oh, absolutely. No, I wasn't suggesting otherwise. I was just pointing out there was some additional context.
Yeah. Now, I only say it because of where Rich stopped. It could be a comment on the whites and the blacks. It could just be primary colors that he's using because they indicate burning really well. It could be both. Who knows? It with the way he ended there, it hit in a way that it did not when I read through the canto without stopping, if that makes sense. So it could be just an inversion of the performance, and therefore, because of this is where it is paused, it gave it a greater significance than was intended. That being said, Ancom, if you would like to pick up, I definitely saved this part for you because it's probably the one that's going to make you least want to like punch Dante in the face.
And it doesn't have any Hercules in it.
And if my numbers are only 3 off, actually,
just give me the line, like the last line to be read.
And wait to hear what now shall be shot forth, because after that we have to get into talking about crap. Well, let me go back up.
Yep. Okay.
There it is. Okay.
The other two looked on.
Here, back.
Oh, sorry.
No, you're fine. Go ahead. I just wanted to say right back.
Yep. The other two looked on, and each of them cried out, O me, Agnello, how thou changest! Behold, thou now art neither two nor one. Already the two heads had one become, when there appeared to us two figures mingled into one face, wherein the two were lost. Of the four lists were fashioned the two arms, the thighs and legs, the belly and the chest. Members became that never yet were seen. Every original aspect there was cancelled. Two and yet none did the perverted image appear, and such departed with a slow pace. Even as a lizard under the great scourge of days canicular, exchanging a hedge, lightning appeareth if the road it cross. Thus did appear, coming towards the bellies of the two others, a small fiery serpent, livid and black as is a peppercorn. And in that part whereat is first received our ailment, it one of them transfixed, then downward fell in front of him extended. The one transfixed looked at it, but said not. Nay, rather with feet motionless he yawned, just as if sleep or fever had assailed him. He at the serpent gazed, and it at him. One through the wound, the other through the mouth, smoked violently, and smoke commingled. Henceforth be silent, Lucan, where he mentions wretched Sabellus and Nasidius, and wait to hear what now shall be shot forth.
Yeah, interesting visualizations. Very Gaiman-esque, honestly. Very New Gods.
Yeah. Yeah, like, it's, like, I was having a little, just because I had to keep the flow, I was having a little trouble, like, understanding what was going on, because, like, unfortunately, Longfellow's choice of language is always 3 layers too thick for immediate understanding. But, you know, so
you just
already
want Dante to sound like he's from fucking Newark, okay? Stop it.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go through this line by line just to kind of help clarify the imagery being given, right?
And I'll get to the historical figures when you get done.
Yeah. Yeah. Already the two heads had become one, so two heads fusing, when there appeared to us two figures mingled into one face wherein the two were lost. So you have two faces that are being fused into one, such that you can't determine what part is from which face. Of the four lists were fashioned the two arms. I'm not even sure what it means here by list. Oh, okay, so at least Musa translates quattro liste as blurred strips of flesh, so that's a little bit more helpful. So then says, we're fashioned two arms, the thighs and legs, the belly and the chest. Members became that never yet were seen. So basically he's saying you had these strips of flesh forming into a body, right? Arms, thighs, legs, belly, chest, and other things. Members became that never yet were seen. The unmentionables, let's go with. And then saying every original aspect there was canceled. So anything that used to be there before, not there anymore. Two and yet none did the perverted image appear, and such departed with slow pace. So again, it's this description of two people melding into one such that neither is recognizable. This is a horrifying image if you think about it. Like, this is shit you would expect to see in a fucking Hellraiser movie, okay? That's what we're talking about here.
I don't know. Akira Toriyama did pretty well doing it with fusion there, so I mean, that's kind of what I'm seeing.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, he did that, but he did that by making the screen glow to where we didn't see it happen.
Yeah. Like the fusion dance ends with a. Yeah, the fusion dance ends with a flash of light. We don't actually see this happening. We just see the finished product. Imagine watching two people's bodies like meld together, right? This is horror movie shit.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
Instead of a flash of light,
or
we get a
action
flash
movie.
of light. Okay,
Well,
that's
no.
basically what's happening.
No. Oh god, that is such a poor phrasing. Flesh of
Oh
light
no, it was
sounds
perfect
like
phrasing.
It was
Perfect
intentional.
phrasing.
It was intentional.
Completely intentional.
Oh no. All right, so now we will
Never attribute to incompetence what could be attributed to malice.
with him sometimes,
It
yes.
was intentional.
Now that being said, Lucan we know is a poet, much like Homer and Virgil. This is another. Some would call it self congratulatory. Some would call it self-referential point of Dante bringing the fact that he is a poet, not a theologian type thing. Like honestly, that's the only way that I can view that because he does it so goddamn often. Sibelius is a 3rd century priest and theologian who taught in Rome, but most likely spent most of his time in North Africa. He's an interesting person in history. He actually was excommunicated because he opposed the concept of the triune God. He believed that they were 3 separate entities.
Ooh, polytheist in the in the story. That's fun.
Yes. And Nasidius is a Roman naval commander from roughly the same area of the world, Northern Africa. Well, that's where he campaigned the most, I should say. But he comes from 2 centuries earlier. One of the weird things I see about him bringing up here is because this isn't a Christian. This isn't a person that is generally mentioned. This is a person who, unless you read a very particular text about Caesar's civil war or Cicero's letters, you will have no clue this motherfucker exists. He literally only exists on paper in 2 places in history.
For those not familiar with original Latin pronunciation, when he says Cicero, he means what most people
Cicero.
would know as Cicero.
Sorry.
Just no, it's fine. I actually appreciate that you give the original Latin pronunciation. I just have to translate for people not in the know.
Yeah, but yeah, it's. I find him interesting to be mentioned there just because of, like, this is a person that I'm not even sure how Dante knew he fucking existed. We barely know he fucking exists now. Like, did he have access to greater text than we did? Did we lose some of the shit that he had access to? Because, like, he's mentioned in Cicero's letters about the Civil War, but not in any way that should land him in hell. And the other place where he's mentioned in history, he's a footnote. He's literally just a name on a list. So it just seems weird. Sibelius obviously makes sense because of the theologian aspect. This is somebody who was at one point considered to be potentially one of the doctors of the church. Ended up not being so, but it at one point was considered such. Basically, he was supplanted by Augustine a century later, and everything that he wrote is, for the most part, lost or reinterpreted through the more modern Augustinian lens.
By the way, this part, this passage begins with a reference to Ovid. And the way Musa and Sayers both translate it, they say that he metamorphosed thus. So there's a little bit of a pun there, although I don't know if that pun is in the Italian or if that's Musa and Sayers being cheeky.
Let's take a look.
Because, of course, Metamorphosis was the title of his most famous work, Ovid's.
Hmm.
Let me check my notes.
No, Dante just uses the Italian converte, so converts. So yeah, I'm
But I
pretty sure
wonder
that's just
if in Italian, Ovid's Metamorphosis is called Ovid's, I don't know, Converte or something.
Let's take a look.
Yeah, I mean,
Because these are intentional, like, little jokes, I think, that Musenseiers are including there.
No, the Latin title of Ovid's poem is Metamorphosis.
Okay. So that's
So,
them adding a joke.
yep.
yeah, and I'm checking my notes. I don't see anything here for it either. So at least from the commentaries I flipped through this week, I didn't see any notes on it.
Okay, fair enough.
I mean, you could be right actually, because here's the thing. As we talk about, Dante uses multiple layers of meaning. There are going to be certain layers of meaning that are going to be missed by certain translators and not others, and vice versa. There's going to be a certain level of transliteration that is going on, and a certain level of interpretation depending on the language that is being translated to and from. This is why in many episodes in the past, Rich and I have argued over the whole concept of all translations are lies. Some very
But
much
at the same
are.
time, I don't think it's irrelevant to the conversation, right? Because he is talking about
Mhm.
Cadmus turning to a snake and Arethusa turning to a fountain, right? So those are metamorphoses, which is what,
No, I'm not.
Shut up.
I just say we argue about it because it's one of those things we have to
That's
argue
another
about
thing.
it
Since
each
he's
time.
silent, Ovid, like he's like, look, you talking about metamorphoses? I saw them in hell myself. That sort of thing.
Yeah,
Shut up, Ovid.
yeah, it is kind of like a little bro moment to Ovid.
Yeah.
But the reason I say we have to argue about it is because sometimes that meaning isn't there, and we are putting modernistic interpretations into something that there is no chance that Dante could have possibly known. We realized this, I think it was in Canto 4 or 5, where we're like, yeah, but they didn't know that in Europe at this time. Like, that hadn't been brought back in by the finding of the Greek
Bunch of old
masters
men
again.
comparing what pains they have. Oh, you think you hurt?
More trying to express these pains to the future generations so that they don't make the same dumb fucks mistakes we did. But yeah,
You
pretty
think
much.
Ovid was warning you morally with metamorphoses? Wait till you see this. Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, the
I was
delay
just
caught us.
okay. I wanted to point something interesting out, even though we haven't actually got to this point yet, just because he was asking about the metamorphose. So at the end of the line, so the line in Italian is "converte potendo io non l'invidio."
Right.
What I noticed is that last word, invidio, is a modification of the Italian word invidio, which literally means like jealousy or I'm sorry, invidia, which means like jealousy or envy, and you'll notice the phonetic identicality to the graphics card manufacturer Nvidia. And suddenly I'm wondering if they did that on purpose. They named themselves Jealousy.
Well, either that or more than
Or
likely
envy.
they're naming themselves after the later interpretation as it evolved from that root into invidioso, which would have been envy of beauty, as opposed to any specific like generic envy. But that be my guess personally, because what are they trying to do with their graphics card? Recreate beauty.
Make people envious. Yeah.
Yeah, so
And the color they use is green.
I just
Just saying.
Oh, that's a fair
That
point.
that could be because it's the best color for our eyes. When it's
It
mixed on
could
a
be, but
black
also like
background.
yeah,
Green
but
with
like their
envy.
name is their name appears to be taken from the Latin for envy, and their color is green, as in envy. Suddenly, I'm like, okay, someone at this company was being incredibly clever when they named it.
Yeah, it very well could be, but I don't know it to be certain. And at least when I did the quick Google search after you fucking said it, it's not on their fucking corporate thing. So whoever fucking came up with this shit kept it to himself. Just saying, because by the way, for those of you who ever want to do quick searches and you don't want to have to read shit, it's real easy to look up inspiration and origin as a keyword search and hit Control F and just search a whole page and not have to read everything. If it shows up 0, you know it's not there. So
Nope. Okay. So actually, yes, that is exactly what happened here. So there was I'm looking at the Wikipedia article, but there is a specific reference for the last bit here. So they had this, their first product, they wanted to call it GXNV, NV standing for like new video, I think it was, next version, sorry. So they were making a list of words with the letters NV in that order in them. And at one point they wanted to call it InVision, like the letter N followed by the word vision. But then eventually they came up with NVIDIA, which they say is from the Latin word NVIDIA for envy. So.
Oh, okay, cool. Well, they don't put it on their corporate fucking thing on their website, so the fact that you had to go to the Wikipedia, do better, NVIDIA. But,
yeah, like come on, if you're gonna have your name be that fucking clever, at least give us some like put it on the About Us page. Come on, guys.
I mean, yeah, that should, like, honestly, if that's where it originated from, that should definitely be in like the founders page or something. That being said, since we are on limited time, we do want to not push too many tangents too long. I will get back to the reading because I can see Despy is like, okay, we're in nerd speak. We need to stop. Be silent, Ovid of Cadmus and Erythrus. What? Why are you whining?
Father, I require pets.
No, she's looking at the door. She requires out. Ugh,
Father, I need to utilize the facilities.
actually, it's not based on the way that she's acting. She has to go chase the birds. Oh, okay. Be silent, Ovid of Cadmus and Arethusa. For him to a snake, her to a fountain, converts he fabling that I grudged him not. Because two natures never front to front has transmuted, so that both were forms to interchange their matter ready were. Together they responded in such wise, to a fork the serpent cleft his tail, to eke the wounded drew his feet together. And eke the wounded drew his feet together. The legs together with the thighs themselves adhered so that little time the junction no sign whatever made that was apparent. With his cloven tail, God damn it, I hate that. You have to hit right click to drag it, but then it opens up the right click menu. It's annoying. With his cloven tail assumed the figure the other one was losing, and his skin become elastic, and the other's hard. I saw the arms draw inward at the armpits, and both feet of the reptile that were short lengthen as much as those contracted were. Thereafter the hind feet together twisted, becoming the member that a man conceals, and of his own the wretch had two created. While both of them the exhalation veils with a new color, and engenders air on one of them, and depilates. Jesus Christ, I haven't seen that word in ages. Depilates the other. The one uprose, and down the other one fell, though turning not away their impious lamps, underneath which one, with each one his muzzle changed. Okay, so Dante was eating some fucking rotten ergot when he came up with this shit. Because he's literally talking about humans' legs being like serpents, coming together, mixing into a singular thing, and then becoming two dicks. This person is literally walking around on two dicks. Let that sink in for a second.
I mean, this is just proof that dick jokes are timeless.
I mean, yeah. But what I'm trying to get at is he has gotten to the point where we are no longer just metamorphizing humans into animals or humans into plants. We are now metamorphosizing humans into animals and then those animals into phalluses.
No, we're metamorphosizing whatever
Metamorphosis.
genitalia into ambuable parts.
Well, and what I find even funnier is that one of them he makes bushy and the other he makes bare. It's just like, I don't understand the 14th century implications of like what this humor would be beyond like the generic haha funny sexual humor. What the fuck did this mean to them? Because I have the sneaky suspicion their cultural norms were significantly different enough from ours to where it doesn't mean the same reason why it's funny to us.
You know something? This just lets me understand exactly why Dr. Seuss created the worlds he did.
Well, that and the anti-Semitism, but you know.
Yeah.
Well, there's also, by the way, I just saw that because it mentioned legs on snakes again. So I went and looked it up. It's called a prelapsarian. I found the thing that I remember. It's called a prelapsarian serpent, which is the serpent before the fall. So and that's particularly a medieval thing. So I'm pretty sure that is relevant to this.
Oh, I would absolutely call it relevant, and I'm fucking smacking myself that I fucking
I mean, if you're
forgot about it.
reinventing the snake, right, then the snake's going to look like it did when it was first created. And
No.
apparently, when it was first created, it had 6 legs.
Yeah, and I'll take that.
All of them were dicks.
Yeah.
No. See, but no, I'll take that. But I would also want to dig further into it now that we're on this.
Okay,
because,
so all right, let me give you a Catholic interpretation of this. Right, this is something that all you former Catholics would, once the future Catholics will.
Former, I was never excommunicated.
Yeah, that's right. Will recognize
Oh,
the
you
idea
lapsed
that
Catholics.
the church believes that every part of the body has a purpose, and it has to be used for that purpose, right? But of course, these are sinners. We're in hell, and so the purpose of a part, like it doesn't matter, right? Like you can use a dick to walk.
well, no,
like-
that part I get. What I don't understand is why one hairy, one bare, one flaccid, one hard, somehow is. I mean, like we can get the basics, the generic. This would be funny to any human who's ever been, a 14-year-old type thing. But
maybe
I'm
he
guessing
time
there's
traveled.
wider things there too.
Maybe he time traveled, and now he knows the dangers of DEI. Too much diversity in all of the body parts.
No, I mean, yeah, that would be funny, but that's just kind of where I'm at with it because we would have to dig far more into the societal implications than we need to for this poem, and therefore it's way too much of a tangent. But I am curious as to why this would be either funny, shocking, or thought-provoking in the 1300s, because as I said, the societal norms are going to be so significantly different. I have this sneaking suspicion that the impetus as to why it is one of those things is going to be different than it is for us. Just because we've had to live through Puritanism, we've had to, and the culture that has evolved since then, and so on and so forth. Whereas he had no concept of Puritanism. We even had hedonistic Catholics at this particular time period. So,
what I was going to say is like we've had it where what is it like, and we've talked about this before, where the further we descend, the more like madness like basically like ensues, and we're getting close to the end. So it would just be safe to assume that what we're seeing here is like a height of madness.
Well, yeah, but for us in modern times, one of the things that we did it today a couple of times, or at least I did, when it gets this insane, we will bring up the chemical reactions that we know historically have made people see some crazy shit, like ergot poisoning, acid, etc. For therefore I'm bringing in like a cultural contextual point to draw. He's doing the same. I just don't understand what to, because of like we're so far separated. This is not something that we're going to find in history books easily. This is going to be something that is going to take like a cultural anthropologist to answer, and I don't have one of those on call, especially not about 14th century Italy. Like, it's just one of those things. It just makes me curious because, like, I find this funny for very easy modern reasons because I watched a lot of Saturday Night Live and Mad TV, and like this just makes sense, and it's easy. To them, why did it make sense is interesting, and it's just one of those bewilderment moments that happens as we read through these to each of us for different reasons. But I did find it interesting. Like, this would be salacious for obvious reasons. But at the same time, nudity was not as like frowned upon in the same way at this time period as it was because of the shit that our culture went through. So it's just interesting. Good.
It's one thing to say, you know, like nudity is entirely different. Yes, I get that, but like displaying your genitalia to everybody is an entirely different thing than nudity itself.
No, that I agree. That's why I say it's just one of those things that's, I wonder what the further implications that are lost through time that we'd have to dig far deeper. That's all. I'm
just saying, it's one thing like for me to go to the public bath with everybody else there and everybody is naked and it's normal to basically
or
take
if you were a porter
a shower
walking through
and
the
clean.
Streets.
Yeah, it's another thing for me to walk in there and purposely try to swing my dick around and like sway it back and forth while I'm in that location. Like,
no, I get you. That's why I said, or if you were a porter, because one of the things that was common at this time period were indentured servant porters would be naked so that they had no place to show, like, hide anything that they would steal, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
Like, so yeah, that's why I say there's certain levels to this that I would find interesting to learn about. Now, that being said, since it is now your time to go, Despy. Unfortunately, you get the even better jokes, but I didn't want to just keep reading.
Right before he starts, it just occurred to me, he didn't just tell Ovid to shut the fuck up. He also told Lucan to shut the fuck up.
Yes.
So he's on a tear.
I don't know if it's necessarily a tear so much as I'm with you. I'm on the same level as you, yeah, but I'm the eyewitness.
Oh no! You're eating my dust. He tells them, "Shut up."
So where am I going?
Top of the screen. Oh, how far do we got? Honestly, looks like you're gonna be finishing. Let me where was I? There it is. Wait, no. Yep. To create. There it is. Sorry, I had to find where I was after I zoomed out and back in because it didn't.
You want me to finish her off then?
Yeah, because we're almost to the end. Like we're like where I would have you stop. We would only have two sets and the single line left. That's just silly.
Okay, sounds good. All right. The one up rose and down the other fell, though turning not away their impious lamps, underneath which each one his muzzle changed. He who was standing drew it towards the temples, and from excess of matter, which came thither, issued the ears from out the hollow cheeks. What did not backward run and was retained of the excess made to the face and nose, and the lips thickened far as was befitting. He who lay prostrate thrust his muzzle forward, and backward draws the ears onto the head, in the same manner as the snail its horn. And so the tongue, which was entire and apt for speech before, is cleft, and the beforked in the close up, and the smoke ceases. The soul which to a reptile had been changed, along the valley hissing takes to flight, and after him the other speaking sputters. Then did he turn upon him his new shoulders, and said to the other, I'll have Busseau run crawling as I have done along this road. In this way I beheld the seventh ballast shift and reshift, and here my excuse, the novelty, if aught my pen transgress, and notwithstanding that mine eyes might be somewhat bewildered, and my mind dismay, they could not flee away so secretly. But that I plainly saw Puccio Shancato, and he it was whose soul of three companions, which came in the beginning, was not changed. The other was he whom thou, Gavil, weepest.
Gavil weepest, yeah. Yeah, honestly, Buoso is one of those ones that's a fucking pain in the ass for most people to say, because it makes us sound like we're fucking about to spew.
Also, it was Puccio, Ciancato, and Gavile.
Okay. That was a Puccio, Ciancato, and a Gavier.
Would it have been Scancato, or would it have been Ciancato? Because this comes from Western Italy.
Possibly Ciancato. The SC can be a little weird. So
yeah, that's the only reason I asked, is because I know that this person comes from the border with the edge of Italy, near where France, Spain, and Italy are all very, very close to each other. That's all. Beyond that, it's the only reason I went with the other pronunciation. And I definitely pronounce Gavil as the fucking the American or the English pronunciation of it, as opposed to the Italian. Oops.
Yeah.
Okay, so now going back to this, as we were reading through this, you tripped up Rich. You don't normally trip up Rich with a pronunciation. He had to come in biforked. Because you said beforked. You
Oh, okay.
And by the way, I probably would have said beforked as well, and probably pissed him off too without realizing it.
Okay.
Well, when I hear beforked, I think BE, like it's turned into a fork. But I think bi here means two, like a fork with two prongs.
No, and I understand you, but
honestly, even saying biforked, just say forked. Like,
yeah.
Well,
Longfellow's making this overly complicated.
I don't think he is. I think he is envisioning instead of two prong tongue, two prongs, then split. So now you have four ends, is what I think he's envisioning.
I'm a little confused about forked here as well, because they're in the bad place, right? You should be able to say the actual word, but it's only in the good place where it gets turned into forked.
God damn it, Rich. No, but like at least the way I thought that what he's trying to say here is he's trying to make it an otherworldly tongue rather than just a natural forked tongue. That's why he's saying bi-forked, so it's forked twice. At least that's how I could be giving him more credit, and Despy's right. He's just being a dick.
Yeah, like
Something, hey.
I'm reading the Italian prima al parler. That's a fucking hard word. Parlar in Italian. Prima a parlare. Yeah. Si fende e la forcuta. So it's split and it's forked. Like that's.
If it's split and forked, that may be. See, yeah, he may actually be envisioning a biforked, literally forked twice tongue.
Yeah, but even he says is cleft and the biforked. Like he's already putting cleft. Yeah. So like
maybe.
What are you going for, Longfellow? It doesn't make sense.
Going for 4, okay?
Well, I can
cutting
tell.
once, cutting again, and then.
Well, yeah. That joke aside, personally, if you really want my answer to that, without any kind of like joke, he did it to hit the meter.
Probably, yeah.
I mean, the way Sayers does it the most redundantly. The tongue once whole and apt for speech was splayed into a fork. In the forked tongue, the split closed. So, yeah, she figures out a way to say it twice.
She made it no, based on what she described, she turned the tongue into the eye of a needle. It just, it forks and then closes. It has a hole in the middle.
See, purely from a meter standpoint, I probably would have written it for speech is cleft and for speech before is cleft and further forked, just because that makes more sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, and here's my thing. I'm assuming, because again, these motherfuckers are dead. We can't ask them why they did it.
Yep.
But
not without a Ouija board.
So here I am in my hubris, trying to correct one of the greatest scholars in history.
All right, so this is another thing too: is the teleology of like body parts or whatever, because it says right there in 133, and so the tongue, which was entire and apt for speech before, is cleft and biforked. So the tongue is no longer suitable for speech. It no longer
suitable for appropriate speech, anyways.
It no longer can do what tongues are supposed to do, which is aid in communication. So,
and if we go to the theological implication,
concept that every body part has a purpose, or everything has a purpose, and you must use it for that purpose.
Yes.
Well, I was gonna say, it may no longer be good for speech, but it's gonna be damn good for some other things.
Yeah.
So then, what is the Catholic opinion on the appendix then?
Well, here's my issue with not issue, but my addition to that. When we go to the theological interpretation of this, and it has a secondary implication. When you're getting into the concept of the forked tongue, and you are getting into the concept of the tongues no longer apt for speech, this is a double meaning within the theological implications. You have both the implications of Babel and the implications of the serpent itself, both of which in 13th and 14th century Europe, I should say, not just Italy, had the secondary implications of being intentionally deceptive, considering the circle of hell that we are in.
You can say two things at once.
Yeah. Well, but there's more than that. It's also when we get into the story of Babel, it is God has actually cursed them to speak other tongues, as opposed to it being a separate entity. It is meant to cause disruption and lack of cooperation. It is one of those things that, in this implication, especially because you're talking about a time period where almost every freaking believer believed in divine command theory, that this was a implication of like either falsity or intentional ambiguity, because of the way that it's used scripturally and within sermons. So I would think personally he's trying to imply that as well, because of the simple fact that we are leaving the circle of deception. It is one of the reasons why I think he used serpents in the way he did, even though I don't understand the whole poison phoenix thing. It's another reason why I think he is so common the deeper in hell we go, to show demons and other denizens of hell that have scaly skin, is because of the allusions to the serpent and the fact that in 13th and 14th century divine command theory Europe, almost everybody believed that serpent to be Satan, even though we know now through actual interpretation of the original scripture that that is not Satan. It is just the serpent, and old serpent when referring to Satan has nothing to do with the garden. They wouldn't have known that, though. They wouldn't have had that level of scholarly interpretation, mainly because of the anti-Semitism that was rampant in Europe at this particular point in history. They didn't trust the Jews in most of Europe at this point. Go on.
Going back to this whole forked tongue thing, if we were to translate this into a more contemporary parlance for us, you could say the mouth was split into going after that whole speaking out of both sides of the mouth, meaning,
right,
double talk and deception.
Just be sure you say beforked tongue.
Yes.
No. He's got a face like a scungili. He looks like fucking Predator. Or the Pomeranian from Blade Trinity.
Yeah, was disturbing me.
Or Gus.
By the way, the other name that we had difficulty pronouncing, Puccio Shankato or whatever, Sayers translates it, so the name is kind of descriptive. It literally means limping Puccio. So Shankato just is a description that he was limping. I guess it's a nickname?
I don't think so, because I've seen that as a surname. Maybe that's where it got its origin, but I've seen that as a surname before. So
Sayers' note specifies Puccio de Galigai. Yeah.
Yeah, Puccio de Galigai would be the name. Yeah.
Yeah. So Shankato seems to be a
nickname.
Yeah.
Because
I didn't look up. I didn't look up the word, so.
No. Looking at it, it comes from the Alpine Italian. It means lame.
Yeah, or crippled. So, right. Yeah, you could call this the crippled Puccio.
Yeah, so he limped in life, right? So that's how he recognized. He's like, wait a minute, I recognize that limp, and then he realizes who it is.
Yeah, I mean, definitely could be. It's just for me, it's I've seen that as a surname, so I'm wondering now, how that surname got normalized and fixated as less of an insult and more of just, hey, that's my name. That's all. That's
my name. Don't wear it out.
Well, I'm sure all kinds of names come from earlier, like Miller or whatever.
Blacksmith, goldsmith, etc. Yeah. Yeah, people joke about that in movies, but no, that is actually up until what was it, 4th century? Pretty much everybody was blank the blank, and that was your profession.
You develop a limp, and all of your descendants for all of time now have that in their name.
Yeah, I mean. It's better than the people in fucking Ireland. We're just named after fucking counties.
Yeah. Which that doesn't make sense to me, because everyone in the county is from the county. So, how are you differentiating people?
Not everybody in the county is named that. Counties were named for previous lords, is usually how it went.
Yeah.
Like, so without revealing my last name, I am one of those Irish that have one of these. Good luck. There's like 34 counties, and all of them have surnames attached to them. But it is not uncommon that my family with this surname happen to not work or serve under the English, but serve under the German military. Just put it that way.
Oh,
Yeah.
alrighty then.
If you know enough Irish history, that just narrowed it down to 8 counties.
Yes, and I happen to know which specific 8 counties you're talking about.
Yes. So it's just it's particularly interesting. I don't
Put
know
on
why
the file with all the other context clues until eventually you can identify them.
Well, the thing is if somebody really wanted to find me, I've been online far too long. There's far too many digital crumbs out there. I don't even think Delete Me or one of those services could do it, because some of these things are going to be on like I-10 fucking tape servers in the basements of fucking places and shit. Not places that you can actually pay to get shit removed because it's not monitored by a human anymore. Just saying, like, when you've been online literally since the internet pretty much came into homes, it's kind of hard to hide who you are eventually. And it costs a lot of fucking money. So for those of you who are watching this as students and you think that you have some level of privacy online, you're wrong.
To be entirely fair, if it would take that much money to take yourself off the internet, it would probably also take a significant amount of money to find you if the identifying pieces of information really are that difficult to get rid of. It probably means they're fairly difficult to find in the first place.
They're I-10 tape servers that have maybe 500 mega memory on them, that are literally continued to be run, and nobody monitors what's on them. Nobody. They are literally maintained for historical purposes, Ancom. This is where hackers hide shit constantly. Finding stuff like this...
knowing where to find it on those tape servers.
In reality, and this is why I'm saying this to people in the audience, that you really don't have any true level of privacy online, somebody can go to GitHub, and if they're a halfway decent script kiddie, they literally leave a laptop running on their desk behind them, and they'll find you in a week. They don't even have to actively look for you. They can literally do it passively with scripts now.
Yeah, fair.
I mean, if we're talking 20 years ago, hell, even 10 years ago, that active level of searching would have been needed. Now, with everybody sharing their computer tech and coding and all that crap, and crowdsources in place like that, the people that they don't even have to necessarily even know what they're doing to be a script kiddie to do this shit. It's crazy.
I mean, that's why the term script kiddie exists. They don't know what they're doing. They're using other people's code.
Well, but I mean, they don't even have to necessarily know that they're using the right code. They literally can just plug and play. Oh, that one didn't work. Next. That one didn't work. Next. The internet, we did not keep up with the laws like we should have as it evolved, and because we are so far behind the times on like some of the other countries that have made like some significant leaps towards this, pretty much if you have ever used a cell phone, Google Chrome, Mozilla Firefox, or fucking Microsoft Edge a day in your fucking life connected to any screen name you are currently using, you're about 20 clicks away from being found by any private investigator. And that costs somebody about $200 to hire a private investigator to do that. And that's if they want to do it legally. If they don't want to do it legally, they just go to GitHub.
Fair.
So, as people who hopefully will be shaping our future, if things don't go horribly wrong, as many of us fear, try to fix this for your kids, because we didn't fix it for you yet, unfortunately. That being said,
And with that,
well, no, I mean that's just the truth of being on the internet. And honestly, most people
Good night,
on the
everybody. We'll see you next week.
no, but here's the thing: most people on the internet know this. It's only the really young who don't.
And by see you, we mean literally.
Now, I wasn't going to go just yet because next week, as we get into Canto 26, I am going to hopefully get our friend Eucharist here because it has some. Even though Dante could not have known this, and could never have predicted Milton's influence on people in the Protestant faiths, has some interesting implication for the Protestant religion, despite being written a couple hundred years before they came about. It should be fun for him to read through that with us if I can get him. So hopefully next week we'll have our good friend Dr. Eucharist. Or, I don't know if he wants us using his real name, so I'll just keep calling him Eucharist for now. And he will be able to give us the Protestant perspective in his mustachioed way.
We'll just call it the Flanders in that Flanders stash.
He does kind of have a Flanders look to him, doesn't he?
I called it the Taggart from Officer Taggart from Beverly Hills Cop, but yeah, that works too.
Yeah. I'm just saying, like with his background in religion and whatnot, I think that he would like the Flanders look a little bit better.
Here's the thing. If I were to go back, because you know how I am with visual memory, I think he's actually worn a green sweatshirt before. But I think it was before he had the. But I think it was before he had the mustache when he still did like the stubble thing. Right. I think he has the sweatshirt, so he could cosplay it without even have to buy anything. Because I seem to remember it was like 2 Christmases ago. I don't remember if there was a picture on the shirt, like if it was like embroidered or like knit with something. But I seem to remember that dark green that Flanders wears on fucking Eucharist. Yeah, that could work. Hopefully we can get him as Flanders next week, now that we've said all this.
Yeah. We also need to get him to say an Oakley Dokley at least once.
If we get him here, he'll do it. That's beside the point. The other thing, this would be the first time we would have 2 guests. If I can get him, and this will be the really hard get because of his work schedule lately, I will also try to get our friend Real Radham, because it is also an extremely entertaining canto that our stunted frickin' asses are not going to do justice to, and we need our burlesque performer.
Actually, he would have been good for this one too.
He really would have been.
All those transformations, yeah.
Well, I mean, it's what he does. I mean, he is a performer.
He transforms every one of his shows. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, it would have been great, but I was unable to get him, and I actually asked him about this week because of his work schedule has just not been helping out for it, unfortunately. Okay. This is our friend in Australia, for those of you in the audience who have not seen that episode or gone back and watched it yet.
I wouldn't mind having him just read every canto in a row, and we can just like paste them into our VODs. Take the place of all of us.
Well, if we're going to do that, we need to start making money, because I am not going to expect him to do that for free, because that's a lot of fucking work.
Of course.
Yeah.
Oh, like that's just the honest truth of it. I would love that, absolutely. But if we're going to do that, we'll have to do that one day in the future, once this stream or FOFA starts making news and we can send him some money, because there's no way I'm asking a performer to do what would probably be at minimum 100 hours of content, because he's not going to get it right the first time. He's going to have to do at least a couple of takes each canto.
Yeah.
Yep.
Just there's no way. No way. We'd have to at least send him some dosh. Just Especially because, like, he's a performer, man. Gotta pay the artists. There's a reason that I do, like, simple art when I can't find stuff, that when I'm just looking through, like, free clip art for, like, articles and stuff like that. It's because if I can't pay an artist, I'm going to do the absolute most ridiculous, simple crap that I can pull off in Photoshop. That's why it looks like crap. Sorry for any of you who have read the Substack. Yeah, that's why some of those images look like shit, is because I couldn't make them look better. Well, it was actually Canvas, not Photoshop, but still, same difference.
Yeah.
But until next week.
Hey, thanks for pasting all that stuff in, Ancon.
Yep. Bro.
With courage and might, apes with brains, hearts, and cosmic flair. The ship's the primate avenger, flying everywhere. Splitsy's on the tech with a spasm or two, and Shaolin's wisdom pulls the whole crew through. Swinging through the stars at the speed of light, Captain Simeon and his crew are ready for the fight. Apes, logs, call to arms, through galaxies far, will bring the charm. Gore's brute force smashes through the line, but he's got a heart that's genuinely kind. Spider's got his sights locked tight, with a trigger finger quick and a penchant for fight. Nebula lurks in the cosmic void, but Simeon's resolve just can't be destroyed. Swinging through the stars at the speed of light, Captain Simeon and his crew are ready for the fight. The call to arms, through galaxies far, they'll bring the charm. Yours, brute force smashes through the light. Through the darkness, dark will race. Dr. Split's like glitch, but he's never done. With science in hand, they always have fun. From nebulous traps to races to schemes, the space monkeys rise and shatter their dreams. Swinging through the stars at the speed of light, Captain Simeon and his crew are ready for the fight. There's a cosmic cheer through galaxies far, they'll bring the charm. Wars brutal, crew so brave, in the void of space, it's adventure they crave. With Simeon leading and the space monkeys in tow, they'll keep the universe safe from nebulous dark glow. Echoes through the stars, Captain Simeon's legacy will forever be ours.
Yo, fuck the noise, let the city lights flash where the streets hit hard and we're kicking our ass. This ain't no place for this spineless shit. We outnumbered the bastards and we're done with it. Yo, fuck the noise, let the city lights flash where the streets hit hard and we're kicking their ass. This ain't no place for the spineless shit. We outnumber the bastards and we're done with it. The city's alive with that revolution. Fire up an ignorant fox, hang on to the choir. Bring your open mind, let's burn the night. We'll tear down their walls while we rise to new heights. You don't stand alone, now we got the crew. We're union strong, yeah, we roll deep too. Fuck stabby, that rat's got no bite. While we build it up, they lose the fight. You ain't bound to the rich, now fuck that noise. We'll try them out while we make our choice. Come to the city where the streets don't sleep, where the bastards tremble and the people leap. It's the home for the bold, where we fight and win, where the biggest crawl is on within. This ain't just a city, it's class warfare incarnate. Every street corner scream fuck the estate. No room for the sniveling bullshit lies. We'll grind them down, make them fry in their ties. We're laying bricks for grit and spit. Each block screams, you ain't stopping this shit. You think we're soft, now we strike hard, while the rich motherfuckers hide in their yard. They wave that flag, but we're tearing it down. This city ain't theirs, it's ours to crown. Come to the city where the streets don't sleep, where the bastards tremble and the people leap. It's the home for the bold, where we fight and win, where the biggest crawl is on within. Stepping on us, now we're taking the throne. They'll bleed in the tower, shit their pants in fear, while we take the city back, time's drawing near. Solidarity ain't just a buzzword, it's a goddamn life when you're cutting through the system with a fucking knife. They got the rats, but we got the battalion. Class warfare's here, we'll take the stallion. While we hide behind gates, jerking off their wealth, we'll tear through the ranks. Fuck their health, you think Stabby's the worst? Nah, he's a clown. We're the ones making them shit themselves down. The city breeds revolution, cuts like you don't last, get in the way and you'll be blown to the pop. Come to the city where the streets don't sleep, where the bastards tremble and the people leave. It's the home for the bold, where we fight and win, where the biggest grow, it's on within. Yeah, come on in, baby, the city's alive, where the biggest shrivel and the streets survive. Building tall, fight the pride, come feel the power, let's turn the tide.
Yeah, sipping whiskey on a pretty city block. No time for pleasantries, we're dealing with the clock. Hold the door, but don't mistake us for a flock. In this urban jungle where the wolves do stalk. Try that near a bodega, you'll learn what we know. In the city's gutters, where the tough ones go. Lend a hand, but we're ready for the throw. In our concrete jungle, it's survival we bestow. Neon lights flash, but we keep our guard. No weaklings here, it's a life that's hard. Corner store hustlers, we play our cards. In this concrete symphony, where the streets are scarred. Try that near a bodega, you'll learn what we know. In the city's gutters, where the tough ones go. Lend a hand, but we're ready for the throw. In our concrete jungle, it's survival we bestow. We don't need fancy words, we speak in deeds. In our harsh reality, where the pain still feeds. Honors earned on these battlefront streets. In this urban chaos, where the city never pleads. We won't back down, we'll stand our ground. City life's a battleground, it's where we're found. In the urban tapestry, where the lost are found. Helping one another on this turf we're renowned. Try that near a bodega, you'll learn what we know. In the city's gutters, where the tough ones go. Lend a hand, but we're ready for the throw. In our concrete jungle, it's survival we bestow. So forget the stereotypes, we've got our own grace.
place. In this gritty rhythm, we survive in our own space. Near a bodega, there's a battle to embrace. In the spirit of the city, we keep up the pace. Try that near a bodega, you'll find we're not for show. In our city's heart, where hard truth we bestow. Leave behind your bigotry, or you'll reap what you sow. In the community garden, your body will grow. In shadows you'll linger, as night takes its toll. Beneath the soil surface, where secrets unfold. The urban retribution, in darkness we enroll. In the garden's embrace, where your story is told. Embrace where your story is told.
Crowds golden, I'm ready to throw. Fucking crushing skulls, laying enemies low. Wrath of steel scrolls, casting spells by the score. Summoning shit that'll leave you asking for more. Trickle swings blades, swooping down like a god. Scarab face gets cracked, he's tasting the sod. We rise again and we're fucking proud. Breaking your bones, we're shouting loud. Trickle rat, rolling in Nefertina. Ancient undead, fuck your arena. Sharp as a whip, leaving you wanting more. Disguised in shadow, she takes the lead. Behind the wheel, you best believe she'll speed. Ancient past, but never slow to learn. You feel the burn of a queen who can turn. No need to doubt it, she's sleek and sly. While the whip cracks, she's making you cry. We rise again and we're fucking proud. Breaking your bones, we're shouting loud. Trickle rat, rolling in Nefertina. Ancient undead, fuck your arena! Percy soul reborn, but still a kid. Scarab's chasing. The fuck if you slid? He can spit fire, but she's a biting sass. Armor crushes skulls, fast magic kicks ass. And it's stumbling, dumb beast in the fray. Scarab screams out as we send him away. It's the magic box. Armor laughs, ancient battles fought through TV's glass. Scarab's defeated, his shaft he laid bare. We fucking rise, we tear up the air. From the tomb to fucking now, Jakal takes the lead and we all destroy. Scarab's buried, his army's trashed. Moni's alive,